What's going on, guys? Special Tuesday edition of Two Real Geeks. We are live. I know we're not normally doing this, but it had to be done. We are with the creator, the mastermind, the genius of the Haunted Playhouse here in Georgia, in Marietta. You guys have to see what this guy is doing. You want to introduce yourself to our fans here? Because we've been hyping you up all week. For a while, actually. So,
hey, I appreciate it. So my name's Ryan Price. So I'm actually, pretty much the creator of the Haunted Playhouse. But, mastermind, all that's great. But there's a lot of people behind the scenes that helps me a lot. So I'll be talking about them a lot. I'm the general person that sets everything up, but I have a lot of people that has contributed, and you'll get to learn a little bit about them tonight. So
that's kind of why I wanted you to come on, Brian, was to show people how much work actually goes into a home haunted house. It's not just like, yeah, some people like to put decorations out, but there's us crazy ones out there that get into this and either want to start the home haunted house to make it grow into something bigger, or it started from a party and went to a home haunted house. We kind of kept your story, behind. I don't even know the story about how this really got started yet, as much as because I want it to be more mysterious to us at the same point. But yeah, so it definitely a lot of work. I mean, decorating is a lot of work, but doing this is crazy.
It is. It takes a lot of time. We're now in the process where we actually have it kind of streamlined, which is nice. Back in the day, how we did things, I was just like, that was nuts. Yeah. Some of the stuff that we did, I was like, just routing pieces of 2x4 of like 100 2x4s was just like, how did I even do that one year? So there's a lot of things in the progression. And I think the biggest thing is one of the things that you'll probably learn is it's a progress, right? It progresses over time. You start with something small, and then you start loving it more and more, and then you're like, okay, well, I'll just buy this prop, and then this prop, and then this prop. And then it kind of morphs into what you have now, a haunted playhouse where it's all about the community, and we'll talk about that during today's show.
Exactly. So where did this all? Everything has a place where it starts. Where did this come from?
So just probably like everybody else, when you were little, right? You always trick or treated. You had that one house.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That one house that's decked out, and you're just like, what are they gonna do? What's kind of scares? The fog machine, maybe an animatronic, maybe a prop here and there.
Yep.
That started with the inspiration when I was 6, 7, 8, right? When I was little. Yeah. And then over time, I went through school, did all that stuff, and then go into college. And then I also met up with one of my buddies back in Publix I haven't seen forever. And he's like, hey, man, we started hanging out a little bit. And he's like, hey, I have this really awesome Halloween party.
Okay.
So you can already see it's kind of very similar. It actually starts at a Halloween party.
They usually do. I hate to say it, but haunted houses usually start at a Halloween party for some reason.
Yep. So I go to this Halloween party, and I get there maybe 30 minutes early, and I go there, and I'm like, holy crap, this is decked out, right? All these decorations and everything. I was like, who did this, right?
Right.
And Eli's like, oh, I did a little bit, but the mastermind, Justin Lee, my brother, and he has been influential to this haunted house, this haunted playhouse. His DNA is in every little room. It's in the front of the haunted playhouse. He does one big project every year, and he just like, if he could do this full time, our haunted house would be just like Netherworld. Like it's ridiculous. maybe not that much, but I mean, to the extent, right? So I go in there and I check it out, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. So I get invited next year to the Halloween party. I show up 5 hours early. Justin's starting to do all the decorations, and I'm like, hey, I got some props. He's like, what? oh yeah, I got this zombie, I got this, I got that. So we start putting this all together,
Right.
and then all of a sudden it was like, oh man, we went to Spirit Halloween, put the backdrops to make it look like it's like a dungeon and stuff with the spider webs. I
Right.
still hate working with spider webs from Spirit Halloween; they're terrible. And
That's like the webcaster guns too. Like they're the worst.
I don't know how I was trying to use them last year, and I was like, I'm done. I just threw it out. But we will go over some better stuff that you can be able to use that actually you can get
Definitely.
pretty cheap.
Definitely.
And it's a lot easier. Just get a staple gun and some scissors, and that's all you need.
No.
So, but we go through the Halloween party, and then the next year we actually bought our first house in April. And when it started coming around the Halloween time period, I was like, I want to be that house.
Yeah.
I want to be that house for trick-or-treaters and everything like that. So I was like, okay, I'm excited. So I bought my first animatronic. It's the Sickening Reaper from Spirit Halloween.
Okay.
You can put a fog machine on them, and you got the fog, got the graveyard. I'm ready for Halloween, and guess how many trick-or-treaters I had that year?
Oh no. How many?
I'm asking.
2.
Divide that in half.
Oh gosh.
Oh really?
Oh,
Oh no.
One.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had years like that too. Yeah.
So we had one, and it was
Yeah.
the neighbor's kid,
Oh no.
and he wouldn't even come to my property because he was so scared of the Reaper.
Oh wow.
And and I was like, wow, this is kind of disappointing. So we still
Yeah.
had the Halloween party, right?
Right.
So everybody's like, dude, you got your own house. Let's go ahead and do the Halloween party at your house. I was like, okay. So after that whole thing that happened, I was like, well, what can I do to try to bring, kids to trick or treat in my neighborhood, right? And I go to Spirit Halloween after the day after, everything's 50% off. That's the best way to slowly build.
Yeah.
You always buy afterwards, and you just find things that speaks to you, right?
2 holidays is Halloween and Christmas.
Yeah.
Yep. So we go in, and it was all about clowns that year. So hence the Haunted Playhouse, right? So I bought a bunch of clowns, and I went to Home Depot and got black sheeting and basically built a haunted house for the Halloween party down in my basement. I built it real fast, had a jumping spider, had a TV with some atmospheric effects, right?
That's awesome.
Nice.
And we basically, people went through it and they're like, oh, this is really good. I'm like, it took me a day and a half, and it was looking back at it, I'm like, wow, that was so just. But our basement was unfinished. So it was a ranch home, and it's unfinished, and so it's actually kind of got that creepy vibe already.
Yeah.
So it was actually really good to start with, and I just bought a bunch of stuff real quick, put it together, and just kind of see how it went. And then everybody's like, you should open it up to the public next year. And I was like, and that's basically how things started progressing.
That's awesome.
And it's one of those things that it just over time it just gets more streamlined and more professional, right? So we started off with just black sheeting from Home Depot. You get that 3 mil, and you basically just do all that, and that's a very simple way of doing it. You can do that. The next thing I did the next year, I saw this on YouTube, a guy that built a haunted house out of pallets.
Okay.
Looking back at it now, it's probably not the best idea, but for the cost, I was able to get pallets for $1, and the design of it was so simplistic. It was so silly. Like you went in for the second year, you just went straight this way, this way, this way, this way, and then you went down in my basement.
Okay.
Like it was very just like, this is kind of, but the thing is, everybody was like, I actually got trick-or-treaters that year. We started getting donations, so we started donating money. We were basically 50% would go to the haunt, 50% would go to charity, and basically it just started evolving every year.
That's awesome.
And the one year that I
when you started doing the donations,
Mhm.
were you asking for donations at that point, or were they just giving you donations like, oh, thank you, here, we need to give you something for this?
We were doing free at first, and then we had a little like Mr. Jeeves, right? A
Okay.
little bucket, and there was candy in it. All of a sudden, we started seeing dollar bills in there, and we're like, okay. And then all of a sudden, people were like, oh yeah, you should ask for donations, and you might can do like a charity. And I was like, oh well, that's I can
Right. Awesome.
because the main reason I was building the haunted house was basically to have a Halloween experience in my neighborhood.
Exactly.
Right? Build it, they will come. Right?
Yeah.
So it just slowly started. This is technically the 7th year, but every year I would just accumulate a little bit more, just a little bit more. And the one year that really progressed was when I went away from the pallets. I did pallets for 2 years.
Mhm.
And when I stored the pallets, I stored them underneath my deck.
Mm-hmm.
That second year, you probably don't want to health inspectors go through that or something. It was not like, you looking back at some things, you're like, you did it that way. It's so much more professional now. But once we got to like the 4th year, we actually got a bunch of OSB board over in Athens Recycling.
Okay.
They had OSB board, 4 foot by 8, or 4 by 8, and they were like a 1/3 inch for $4 a sheet.
Wow.
Oh wow.
And we bought I think 100 of them. And yeah, so, and then when I was looking at it, I was like, what's the best way to use it without having to do both sides, right? Because usually, so we wanted to build walls to be able to change it, right? So that was one of the big things was so we can be able to change the maze every year.
Yeah.
And the year 4 was pretty much the game changer, because we bought a bunch of wood, and I routed all the wood, 2x6s, 2x4. And with the route, basically what happens is you get the OSB board and you put it right in there, and it fits in like a picture frame. So technically it's a $4 piece of plywood is covering both sides. You're not having to spend $8. But 4 years later, it's not so great.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in Georgia and humidity and expands. Like,
horrible.
Yeah.
This year, I had to really get in there to get some of those pieces into that. But it's one of those things, just over time, it's just one thing after another.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is just trying to figure out how to change things up. Thinking about different props, thinking about that. But with the community, specifically with my best friend Eli and his brother, they've been very influential. My friend Jason, they've been helping out a lot with the haunted house over the last like 5 to 6 years. So you say this mastermind, if I didn't have all this other support, I wouldn't have made it past year 4.
And like you said, it's just this is what there's always a team behind these things that it doesn't matter how small it is. There's a bigger team than you think behind these haunted houses.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's one of the things is, I have an idea, and what we actually do now is we actually will start in August, and we've been doing this the last probably about, say, 2 years.
Yeah.
We've been meeting in August and basically, grab some beers and then basically just sit down and draw it out.
Right.
Draw out the maze, figure out what we want to do, figure out how we can change it up. What props did we buy last year? What props are new for Halloween, Spirit Halloween, which would be awesome additions.
Yep.
And there's always things that you're just like, someone brings something up and you're just like, why did I think about that? That's so simple.
So when did you start thinking about the next year's haunt?
November 1st.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the thing too. It's like, this isn't why, like, Halloween ends, but This never ends. Like you're just okay. What can I do to make it better? How can I get more people to come so I can entertain them? You know.
And it really depends on like because of like whenever I'm looking, like I actually bought a lot of stuff last year after for Spirit Halloween.
Yeah.
And they had all that fishing, like that fish stuff. And
oh yeah, I didn't understand that theme.
I'm about to say I don't understand it, but I am so grateful for it because
Okay.
I've always wanted to do a bridge, and I don't know if you're gonna do the sneak peek tonight. Maybe near the end, that the video I sent over. But
yeah, we definitely could if you want me to.
yeah, we can do that near the end to kind of give you a sneak peek of the entrance and everything. It's one of those things that I've always wanted to do bridge and have that like floating effect.
Yep.
So it's one of those things that also when you're building a haunted house, think about what you can use if you get the opportunity when you get free stuff.
Yep.
Right. We had some gyms that closed down during COVID, and they have these little, the little platforms that have little like foam stuff underneath it. They're supposed to be like stabilizers.
Yep.
They were like, "Oh, do you want these?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'll take all of them." They're like, "What are you gonna use those for?" And I was like, "Oh,
just don't worry, don't ask. You don't want to know."
The funny thing is, when I was actually coming up with the idea, I was like, "Oh, you got some of these foam, like you have the foam mats as well." So I was like, so I actually tested it out in the gym to actually see if my idea would actually work, and I'm like, this will actually work. So that idea was actually just brought up, and I've always wanted to do it, and it just came, available. If you look at floating floors at Halloween's, stores and stuff, they're expensive, especially with the floating floor that I have. That thing is, I think, like at least 16 feet long. It's a long bridge, I think.
That's awesome.
And that's going to be probably about $1,000. Like it would be no joke.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing is trying to budget it. That is the biggest thing. So go into the Halloween stores. If you happen to get good friends with a manager at a Spirit Halloween, and then they say, oh, they might have some props in a dumpster, might stop by a dumpster or so, maybe. Just saying.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's going in the garbage anyways. It's free game. I mean,
I know, right? It's one of those things. It's just like.
So, what did your family like? Obviously, your friends push you to do this. Like, what were your other family and friends thinking? Like were you crazy for like what are you doing? Like why are we doing this? Or like your wife or anything? Or
very surprised. My wife was on board. I think I found a good one, right? I mean,
like Jess and I, we got married at the haunted house we worked at.
So I mean, my family, they were like, okay, that's kind of strange. And then when I talked about it and say, hey, this is exactly how it came about and the reasons for it, and going to charity. One thing to keep in mind, like this is the first year that we are doing 100% charity. It's totally free. You don't have to like. I understand everybody's hurt. A lot of people are hurting right now. Yeah. And if you need some sort of normalcy, the Haunted Playhouse is going to be open 2 nights this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and then next weekend it's going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We actually do a Halloween party on Saturday. Well, I'll be operating it while we have people partying it up in there as well. But because that's how it started. It started off as a Halloween party, and it just kind of everybody wants to see it every year and see how what changes, and it's basically it's more of a tradition now and a community. I will talk to more of my neighbors between August and October than the rest of the year. Like when they start seeing me like clearing it out, start seeing the chalk lines and everything, they're like,
oh, it's that time of year.
Yep. And I think that's the biggest thing. You have to have that drive. You have to have that, that focus to be able to do that.
The neighborhood actually looks forward to to that house being decorated, you know, and it's like,
Mhm.
and if it wasn't, or if you moved away, the neighborhood would be missing something, you know.
Yeah, I've actually started seeing more like actual Halloween decorations. It's kind of like almost like spreading. It's spreading a little bit, right?
The Halloween
Um,
flowers, yeah.
so it's one of those things that just kind of over time.
That's all. Because honestly, like you're here in Georgia with us, and you know, like you go through neighborhoods and you'll see nothing of anywhere. Like Halloween decorations, no Christmas decoration. It's like, come on, guys, can we get some kind of spirit going? Up in New York, you see decorations everywhere driving around. We would do trips, make around blocks and stuff, and just to look for things. But here, nope.
And it's colder up there during this time period.
It is.
Which is a blessing and a curse, because building a haunted house during Labor Day weekend and it's like 90 degrees, you're like, WTF.
100%.
But
be a little cooler, but then you're like, when you're up there, you're like, can it be warmer?
Yep. So, and even right now it's like 79 degrees. I was out there, fine tuning things. We actually got our first dry run last night. I actually have my buddy coming over tomorrow to actually test it out, and it's like I literally got everything up and running yesterday. And there's still a couple small things, like some things can't be done until the day before, just because of the nature of how it works.
Right.
So I was pleasantly surprised of how well, like, I can't think of a room that's like, every room is really, every room you're like, okay, I have a room that's stands out. But this year, they're so close. Even the hallways are close. Everything is detailing, and I think that's the other thing you need to think about it. The first couple years, you're just going to get a general scene, and you're going to have a very simplistic design,
right?
And it's not gonna be too much detail, right?
Yeah.
Over years, you start realizing how you can detail areas, and even though our haunted house shrunk from year 4 to year 5. We pushed it all the way out to the end of the street, but it was very bare, and this is when I did all the extra routing, but I wasn't happy with it because I was like, it was just too big, and I didn't have time to focus on those little areas.
Right.
And another thing also, oopsie paint from Home Depot is a good buy. You go over there, because if you start painting and, having detail stuff, if you find a color that you like, I found a really nice, like this bridge color that was perfect for the bridge this year, $8 paint, right? And go to, Craigslist. I've been to some places in Alabama, like literally dirt road, driving up to like this little trailer, and I'm like,
what am I doing?
Why am I doing this? But I literally got some of the best props that way. But I went into his house, and it was like I do a haunted house, but his entire house was creepy.
Yeah.
I was scared. I'm like, my buddy Justin was like, tell me when you're there. I was like, do you have your GPS on? And I'm like,
yeah.
But I think it's one of those things, like those things are just, you just got to keep on thinking about what you want to do and how you want to do things and find those deals. Because if I bought everything retail, my wife would not be very happy right now.
No. No. We know that. We definitely know that. That's crazy. Like I'm just going, guys, if you guys want to make donations to the Haunted Playhouse, you can do it through our channel, and we will definitely make sure it sees where it's going to, because for free and doing this, and the donations are going to.
So we got
Northside.
Yeah, Northside Miracle Babies. It's for preemie babies. Our son was actually 3 months early. He was 2 pounds, and he was in the NICU for about 64 days.
Wow.
And it was an ordeal, right? and some people have really good insurance, some people don't, and you know, any donations or anything like that, you know, we're going to do 50% going to them, and then the other 50% goes over to Best Friends No Kill Animal Shelter.
And they are an awesome shelter here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
No Kill Animal Shelter. We got our dog from there. We're actually looking to adopt a cat this year. Our one cat did pass away this year, unfortunately. But you know, it's one of those things that, you know, adopting and trying to help out is just, you know, that's something that's just good for the community. So
It is. It's great. It's
so
great.
those are the two charities that we're going to be doing for this year. And this year 100% goes there. Nothing goes back into the haunted house. We used to go, you know, maybe, and we usually raise about $500 or so. And actually usually it says 50% usually. Usually 50% will go, but usually it'd be like probably about 60 to 70%. I'll do more in charity. I'll just use it for like one prop.
You guys remember, that's 2 Friday and Saturday nights that we're raising $500. Okay,
Awesome.
2 weekends, a Friday and Saturday, 4 nights at $500. That's great.
Yeah.
So, how many people are coming through the haunt though?
So it ranges probably about 40 to 50 a night if you do an average. The Halloween is what basically, if you come Halloween, you're probably gonna be waiting.
Yeah.
That's usually the killer day. I mean, it is, no pun intended. That day is just, we had our best year was year 4, and
Okay.
year 4 was like, you know, we built it out. Halloween was just, it was just a good time, and we just had so many people. And even last year, it was kind of like attendance was lower last year.
Mhm.
Attendance has been lower the last couple of years. And it's one of those things at this point, you know, I'm just trying to help out the community. And one of the things that actually has pushed me a little bit is I actually met a fellow haunter in Terror and Timberlane. They're unfortunately not going to be doing a haunted house this year because most of their haunted house is actually actors.
Your wife
But
is speaking in here too.
yeah. Yep.
That's
So
awesome.
I met up with him like 2 years ago, and he's actually inspired me to actually become a, you know, step up my game a little bit, because I went through his haunted house. I was like, holy wow, mine is, you know, his is very detailed. He has he has the best costumes.
This is what I've been noticing though, too, is this is what I want to know is, he's relying on actors. You don't. You do not have one live actor in your haunt. And from what I'm seeing,
Sometimes.
but the videos I've seen, it works. It works 100% where you can go through this and you don't have to worry about a person in there. How do you like, where did this come from? Like, is this something that you didn't want? Like, say, I don't want people in there. I just want.
No, it's one of those things. I'm kind of, I guess, I don't want to. I know people want to help out, but I don't want to be dependent on them, if that makes any sense at all. People have lives, but the thing is with Terror on Timberlane, they do it for one night, and they'll raise like $200 or $300. Like, they do really good job. I wish they were doing it this year. I talked to Jason about it. If I was in his position, I would be the same way. Unfortunately, but he's still going to be doing like a little yard haunt. So I've been telling people that still, hey, you know, well, basically like a scene. It's not actually like a haunt you go through or
With his
anything like
crazy reptile costume on.
Yeah, dude, that his costumes are so sick. And he goes to the trans world, and I'm like, this like the stuff that he gets is just like, he has this goat head. Like, I mean, some of the props in there are just like are amazing.
He does
And
Christmas stuff too, doesn't he?
He does, and he did a big Christmas thing last year, and I was like, it was really cool. I was able to stop by right before I like literally went to his haunted house, and then went through it real fast, did my donation, and then
Yeah.
I went over there, and then 2 days later I find him back, and then of course he sends the donation that I just sent over back over to me. So
Yeah.
but no, I mean, he's been very influential to
Awesome.
building out the Haunted Playhouse. He gave me some good ideas with spider webs with beef netting.
Yes.
You can literally,
Genius.
it is amazing. My buddy Justin knows how to even make it even better than what we did last year. Like the spider webs that we did for the spider room this year,
Yeah.
it's sick. Like
Even with Jason in the neighborhood, that's awesome that you have somebody within your own community that's you can reach out to, you know. And
Yeah.
you guys are on haunted.com, hauntedhouses.com and all that. And that's just amazing that, you know, both of you are, you know, come up back to back and you guys are, you know, not like, oh, this is my terror for, you know.
No,
It's just,
we piggyback off each other. Hey, because it was I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. All of a sudden I was like, they were like, oh yeah, we came from this other haunted house in Marietta. I'm like, I'm the only haunted house in Marietta, I thought. At first I was like, what? And then all of a sudden I went over there and met him. I was like, I was like, this is so cool. And then we basically, you know, I started promoting him. He started promoting me, and we just basically bounced back ideas back and forth.
and that's definitely the way to do it. Like this, it's Halloween. It's here to you're here to have fun, and you know you're having fun to have other people have fun, and why not, right? So here's the question: is I mean, other than Jason, is the home haunting house community like? Are you connected with other people like that? Is it like, oh yeah, this is what I do. Here's my secret, or people like, well, I don't want to tell you what I do because I don't want to give away my tools of the trade. Or
no, I mean, home haunters, I mean, we're not doing this for money. We're doing this for
Right.
fun and you know, raising money for communities. And I mean, we're an open book. You know, I'll tell you exactly how I do every little thing. You come in and you know, most of my stuff is from Spirit Halloween. I'm waiting for Spirit Halloween to come to me and say, hey, can we feature you? Because literally 80% is from Spirit Halloween.
Yeah.
And you know, from the lighting to the fog machines to the animatronics, like it's just something that, you know, it you know, there's no need for that. I mean, even with like other haunted houses, I know even the big ones, they actually talk to each other, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a community.
Yes.
And I'm not as connected into that community, unfortunately, because I just haven't gone to like Trans World or, you know, gone into these bigger ones. I've been on like a lot of the Facebook stuff, but I was planning on going this year, but something kind of messed that up a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit, but it's okay, you know. But that's like, as I know with us, we're on Facebook and you know all these communities and stuff on there. Like I already knew the answer what you were gonna say. I just wanted to prove that, you know, like yes, like even though the haunted house you go to may be the biggest, baddest, scariest, they still know that little guy. You know, like I guarantee if I went to some of the like the containment or paranoia haunted house that we went to this year, and I mentioned, you know, if I go, hey, you know, the Haunted Playhouse, how many of the people and actors that work there would be, oh yeah, I know, we go through there all the time, you know, when we can, you know, if I'm not working, you know, things like that.
Yeah, that's the only like the blessing and the curse of working a haunted house. You won't really have much time to really see other people's. We were able to see we did Netherworld last year. Me and Jason went together and we kind of posted on our Facebook like, hey, you know, Tara and Timberlane and Haunted Playhouse went to check out Netherworld, and
that's awesome.
That was a cool experience. So, and you know, one thing to kind of piggyback off of what's going on this year. This year we are trying to be as safe as possible, so we do have hand sanitizer when you first go in. Masks are required, just because when you are scaring, saliva goes everywhere, right? So you're gonna wear your mask, and we're not going to have any actors in there per se. We might have an actor maybe moving something here and there, or maybe controlling a remote control here and there. But
Right.
and if they are in there, they're gonna have a mask on or anything like that. So we're still kind of fine tuning to verify who would be available for some things, but we're gonna do that, and then after we're gonna have 6 feet distancing with little squares and everything like that to try to make it as safe as possible.
So, and you get lots of candy too.
That's my buddy Eli. He's over in Seattle. I was like, we actually do go through a lot of candy, and that is actually the one thing I haven't bought yet. And you can see my eyes right now are like,
yeah.
I know there's always something I forget, but
those precautions that you're saying, like you did a whole video on the precautions, which
exactly.
I found fantastic, and I found it to the point that you were looking to the point of where to put the exit, because you said it was usually side by side from the entrance to the exit, to the point that you wanted to see, look, we got to keep this safe and move the exit somewhere. So that was great thinking. You thought of everything.
Yeah. The bad thing is the exit ended up being pretty close, unfortunately.
Sometimes you can't avoid it.
I'm working with our carport. It's based on specific real estate, and we needed 2 hallways. And if we did 2 hallways, the rooms would be like not rooms. That right there, by the way, Jason from Terror on Timberlane, he provided the best recommendation. Focus on rooms. I was always about tight corners, and I can make a maze look really good. You can have these small rooms, but he was like, really focus on, like, you have a hallway and then it goes into a scene. Hallway, scene, or scene, right? That right there has totally changed my haunted house in the last 2 years.
That's great.
And him helping out with the beef netting, you can actually, so the beef netting, you can actually use as spider webs, and you don't have to go to the Halloween store or Halloween website. You can go to, I think it was a butcher in Tennessee. You can get like 50 pounds of it for like $80, and it was shipped here in like literally 2 or 3 days, and I still got a big roll of it. So it's one of those things you just got to kind of think outside the box, and then but the biggest thing is just communicating and trying to find other people in your local area. I think that right there, it helps a lot, because you will eventually start getting a bit of a drag. You're going to hit points where you're like, you hit walls, because it's a lot of work to build everything out. We did a lot of routing. Like, everything you see is based on OSB board that we built and we configured and everything, and
that's great.
Go through a lot of screws every year. So I actually just brought my I had my little what do you call it, the thing at like Harbor Freight, you can actually roll around to pick up all the screws. I just did that today. I just did that today to kind of clean up the haunted house and everything. So that's actually been really good.
So here's the big question. It's the week of right now. This is go time for you. I know it is. What is it? What's the process right now? Like, what goes on? Like, when you flip that switch, you're like, when do you flip that switch and you're like, here we go?
The switch was flipped last night. Like, I didn't have power to the haunted house until literally pretty much last weekend.
Okay.
And when you start plugging things in, they sit. You don't know if they're gonna turn on. You don't know if
we know
if the prop that you bought at Spirit Halloween actually has all the parts that you actually bought. That was I was talking to my wife last night. I was like, we bought Bloodthirsty Betty and we're gonna put her on the wall and she's gonna fling back, and I was like, this is gonna be awesome. I open it up and I'm like, screws are missing, pieces are missing, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to call Dr. Zombie, and they will get it to me eventually. It's just gonna take months. But I was like, I have to find some sort of solution around this. And that was one of the big things this weekend. I was like going, the last weekend is always kind of the nuts weekend, but I'm kind of at peace right now because I actually went through it last night and I was like, and I showed it to Eli, my buddy that just did the comment
Yeah.
about the candy.
Yeah.
I showed him some stuff, and the thing is, I'll be sending my buddies in Seattle pictures of my stuff. Ryan, why are you doing it this way? You need to do it this way. And I'm like, oh yeah, like getting second pair of eyes across the United States from my buddy. That right there, that shows you that it's a community that helps. If you just do this all by yourself, you're gonna get burnt out. You're gonna get tired. I still had some moments of burning out, as my wife can probably contest. Actually, a couple points, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things. We also have a 3-year-old, so he's going to be 3 in January. So he's a bit of a the terrible twos. So you heard about the terrible twos. So
is he like Halloween this year and stuff? Also, like seeing you doing all this, is he like, oh yes, Halloween's coming? Like
He's all like, Daddy's building a haunted house, and he tells everybody about it.
That's awesome.
And
that's your greatest advertiser right there.
The other funny thing is, we haven't recorded it yet. He has this laugh that I swear, like, you put that in the haunted house or put it anywhere, I was like, you would probably pee your pants. Like, I'm like, that is the creepiest. Like, and it's coming from my son. I'm like, you're
yeah.
Can you please stop? I'm a little scared right now.
That's great.
But
that is great.
But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's just a lot. It's all about the community, and just trying to figure out how you can be able to bring back. I mean, really, I could have been year one. I could have looked back at it and said I had one trick or treater.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know what though? This is how we when we started, we had
like
one person in a live
Halloween
stream.
Neighborhood.
Yeah. Like when we started a YouTube channel, we had one person in a live stream. On a Tuesday night, we would never have 8 people in our stream with us just because we're doing something. But you know what? You build it up, and the more you did it, the more we do it, the more people want to see what you're doing and why you're doing it. So.
Yep. And it's one of the things. It just it takes takes time, but I think the biggest thing is just trying to keep it fresh. That is the thing that I thought would be the most challenging, but it hasn't been. Which is the weirdest thing ever. Every year I'm like, okay, this is the best year. How do you go better? And the next year we're like, oh, this is the best year. How do we go better? Like, I am just waiting for that ceiling that we haven't hit yet. This year is just, even if you're not going to come in, you say you just come in, you're not doing any donations, it's free. You will enjoy yourself. And one of the things that I actually do run into is, I have some kids that are maybe 6 or 7, and it is pretty scary. So my rule of thumb is, if you have a kid, you know your kid, right? You know your kid.
Is this a thing or?
So if Eli had his haunted house, it would literally just be a fog machine and strobe lights. That is literally his entire haunted. I have 2 strobe lights this year, Eli, so you should be proud. But no, like, literally, that is all. Like, it's the running joke that he's like,
okay.
Literally, if he did a haunted house, it'd be fog and strobe, and I'm like, and you couldn't see anything.
Okay.
It's just it's so random. I'm trying to remember, what was I talking about earlier?
You hitting your ceiling, which you haven't done yet, and
yeah. There was something else I was talking about before or after that ceiling. Eli, you messed me up already, man.
Yeah, sorry, that comment was just too great. I was like,
I figured he would come in here and say that.
That I can see you maybe in a few years here going into life. Like, hey, we're gonna do the haunted house, but it's not gonna be at home.
There's a Walgreens right around the corner.
Yeah.
That we can go ahead and maybe the only thing is, like, I kind of like the local haunt, because once you start like managing a haunt and looking at like half it to profit and trying, no, not even profit, just trying to make ends meet, I feel like it might actually take the joy out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
A little pressure, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of like the way we're doing things, but it is something that would be really cool to be able to expand on it, and maybe even just, you know, start doing like $5 down the road.
She's been suggesting that apparently. So
The Walgreens on Roswell is now officially going into becoming a auto zone, so we can't get that anymore. But
but there are places that you can rent seasonally. When you tell them what you can, hey, I just need to rent it for a haunted house for a month or two, or well, it'd be a few months, but
yeah, I was about to say, you don't build a haunted house in a month. You build
unless you were us coming into a theme park and you had about 3 weeks to put a whole haunted house up inside of a theme park. Yeah.
Because we had to wait till they closed down for the season before they'd let all our stuff in.
Yeah.
So
it was crazy. So I understand your pain. That, you know, I definitely understand.
Say, those were some long days. I can just only imagine.
Oh yeah.
Like just craziness.
You definitely gotta keep doing what you're doing, because like, I mean, we had a Halloween neighborhood like that.
Yeah.
There were a couple houses that went all out. That's where we always went trick-or-treating. So it sounds like you have that going again, and there's like a good Halloween neighborhood for people to go to.
It reminds me. It actually reminds me of me growing up. My father and I would actually go. And,
you were the Halloween.
And we were the Halloween house in the neighborhood. So I definitely understand when you said that you're the Halloween house in the neighborhood. People every year would actually, the same as you, would be, oh, that's that crazy house. We gotta go there. We gotta go there. You know, I may have not had the best candy in the world, but we had a good show. And you know, it's just we didn't hold back. We didn't care. Like you bringing your kid by, we're not holding back.
So I remember what I was talking about when you just brought up the kid. I was talking about how parents, you know, will go through the haunted house and they'll have like a kid that's 6 or 7, right?
Yeah.
And you don't know how your kid reacts. Every kid is different. You can have a 4-year-old go through the haunted house and they're fearless, right? You can have a 13-year-old that's crying by the time they get out. That happened last year. Literally, those two spectrums were like that. So one of the things that we do, we look to the parents, right? Hey, you think this is scary? Go through it, and you can go through it again with your kid.
Exactly.
Like you don't have you don't get that with a regular haunted house, right? You don't get that at all. You don't get that consideration. Yeah, like it's one of those things that is just, you know, I'm very mindful of that. And whenever I have a little kid, I've seen some kids that are little, and I'm like, you understand this is not. My haunted house is not like a little kid's, like Mickey Mouse or anything like that. It is like we have, you know, we used to have head hallways. You know, I'm trying to avoid. There's a little bit you can maneuver. You don't have to push things out of the way. But literally, I had a hallway full of heads, and you have to push them around. Like that's not for the weak. You know, just that. You know, some people will freak out on that, right? So. It's one of those things that you just have so much. You just got to think about everything about that. And one of the things also is when I was met up with Jason, I actually never had an umbrella policy for the haunt until 2 years ago. So if anybody actually trips or falls, they could technically sue and actually take my house. Like I'd never thought about that because I'm optimistic. Like I try to look at the bright side of things, and I try to, you know, I tried to give people the benefit of the doubt in almost as many situations as possible to an extent. And I didn't think about that. And they're just like, you know, it's only a couple $100 and you're basically making sure you're covered if anything does happen. So far, nothing has happened. 1 year, I actually had to change the sign to say no weapons in the haunted house. And this kid, he had a knife, and I had people in the haunted house. I had a couple actors, and we'll have actors every once in a while if we have people wanting to help out and stuff like that. I had knee pads, so I did a lot of crawling
Yeah.
Crawling is the creepiest thing. If you just put on a clown mask and you just start crawling with the knee pads.
I was a crawler.
I used to do the backwards crab crawl at people on this dark stretch.
Wow.
Like where we were right off the Long Island Sound, so it was pitch dark on this one stretch as you left our graveyard in the haunted house, and I'm just lying on the ground in the one-piece jumpsuit, and I'm seeing them coming. I get up backwards and I start like running at them on the ground, and they stop and scream. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that was one of the things. Like, I actually, the first couple nights I didn't wear knee pads. It was not a good. My knees were destroyed, and I went to Harbor Freight.
Find out your need for knee pads the hard way. Usually, I know.
I'm young, right? No.
No.
Once you hit 30s, it's just you'll start seeing. It just starts going down there, unfortunately. But this year I don't really think we're really gonna have any actors, though. I think this year is gonna be pretty tame for that. I know one of my buddies, Jason, another Jason, we call him Big Jace because he's 6'7". He's usually in the haunted house, and he just scares anybody because he's so tall. And he has a very creepy laugh. He goes, oh, 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 oh. Like, it's just like, but he's a Jolly Green Giant. Love the guy.
That's great.
He's gonna try to. He's actually gonna help out on Saturday. I think we're gonna have him do maybe some of the spider room probably.
Okay.
That's gonna be a good one. Just this year is just the detailing. And one of the things I would recommend, I know some people, you'll go through a haunted house and just run through it, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of just slow down a little bit. If you go through the haunted house, just slow down and actually start looking at every little thing and start admiring that, hey, this all was, there was a plan for every little thing. And I think a lot of people don't.
It's basically a spooky art museum. You go to the art museum, you're going to look at things. The same thing.
Yep, exactly. And one time so take that with a grain of salt though, because I had one group, like my it's a small haunted house. It took them 15 minutes to go through. And I was like, okay, man, now like about to get my pole and start pushing them through. Like but they were just looking at everything, and I was like, I get it, but
we got a line.
yeah. I'm about to say this is a line right there. So, and I think this year it's going to be, I think it's going to be a good year. This was that year that I was waiting for, because Halloween just pushes every year. It goes from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Then Friday, it's leap year.
This year is Saturday, right? Saturday, Halloween. I was like, this is gonna be amazing, but then the whole COVID thing, and I'm like, we'll see if it's amazing, maybe, but I think we're gonna probably get a lot more traction.
I think so.
It's I've been hearing like Netherworld, they have capacity and they're like booking every night almost.
Every place we've been, they've been pretty busy.
Slammed, yeah.
They've been pretty busy everywhere we've been. So.
Yep. So that's good. I know a lot of places are not doing it. So I think it's the places that are,
definitely a factor.
Yep.
Are you is there any advertisement in town or anything, or?
That is my weakest link, marketing.
Okay.
I don't market at all. We were actually were featured in the Marriott. I'm about to say, hey, you guys are helping me out here.
That's exactly what we wanted to do with this. That's exactly what we wanted to do.
So we actually were featured in Marietta Daily Journal last year.
I saw that. I saw that. That was awesome. That's awesome what your wife did for you and framed it.
Yep. You can still hear me, I think, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So that's actually the article.
Yep.
So and everything like that. So that is that was a big accomplishment right there. So I was pleasantly surprised. And it's just, that's probably the worst thing that I am. Like, I don't talk about it enough. I just do it, and it's more word of mouth now than
has like, because we have Fox 5 Atlanta here in the city, and they love coming out to things like you guys. Have they reached out to you? And
Nope. No, nothing like that.
I think we need to make phone calls here for you, and you make your phone calls, and I think because really, no, I'm sorry, ladies, you need to be featured out there because you guys are doing it for free. You're doing it for charity. You're doing it for the community, and with this year, it needs to be spread out there, and it needs to be said what's going on, and there's some fun going on in the world instead of badness and
everything, right?
And it's cool because it's like you're opening your home to people, so it's like you're welcoming people to the community, and it's different than going to a haunted house. It's like visiting a friend almost. Which people have only seen their own homes. They haven't seen other people's properties. It's
we actually like the funny thing is like the first 4 or 5 years you actually went through my house down in the basement before we actually remodeled the basement.
Right.
And I mean, it was a walkthrough down, like we had the lighting going in the backyard, and it was
brave.
It was pretty creepy because it's a 1950s home, ranch style house, and it was it has that wood paneling.
Yeah.
We actually used when we did the remodel, I actually took that off and actually use that in the haunted house now. I spray painted that for the alien room last year. So it's one of those things that you just start realizing things. But I want to go ahead and talk about one of the stories that we had with one of our unwanted our actor that we had, our surprise guest.
Oh yes.
I think it was year 4. Actually, no, it was year 3. I think it was year 3 or maybe 4. I don't know. But you would go down in the basement. Actually, this is the door that you would go through, and you would go over in, into the other room, and that door is wide open. I didn't think anything would ever just go into my house, right? So I'm going through, just talking to people, doing the haunt thing, and then also one guy say, "Man, that possum looked really real," and I'm like,
"Oh no."
Oh. Yeah, I bought that at Spirit. It was cheap.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I was looking at my wife. I was like, no, he must have been drunk. He must have been drunk. Like he must have saw something. The light was shimmering or something. He probably just misinterpreted a real life possum, right? Like I was like, okay, whatever. So later that night, close up the haunted house. My wife was she just got in a car accident, and she was upstairs, and I went downstairs to basically turn things off and turn on the lights and kind of do things around the haunted house. And I was in my boxers, went down there, and the first thing I see is the cat eating food, and there's a possum right there, and they're literally sharing a meal, and I'm like, so he wasn't drunk. And how do I get this out of my house?
It's a very hospitable cat you have there.
I mean, and it was nice. He was like this. And the possum was eating, and then all of a sudden, then the possum would go up, and then the cat would like. I'm like they were like they were best friends, and I felt so bad. Like I felt so bad. I was like, oh well, let me go ahead and try to catch this thing, and I go down there. I don't know what I was doing with a lacrosse stick. I don't know what's going on. We just say that it ran. I didn't catch it. And the next couple nights with the haunted house, you might have seen a possum. You might not have. We didn't catch it until like 4 days later. So that was a very interesting story. Eventually, we were able to catch it, and then we ended up. Was it Kelly, my wife, her best friend Sarah? She works a lot with wildlife, so she was able to tell us where we could, set it free, because it was a baby possum, little guy. But that was one of the years I was just like, I should have thought about it. I had a door open, and I live in.
Unfortunately, you'd be surprised at what actually walks into your haunted house.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and that was the last year people went into my haunted house, and animals that I did not adopt go into my haunted house.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
But let me go ahead and feature our little. This is Maddie. She was rescued from. She's like, "What are you doing, Dad?" Excuse me. She was from Best Friends No Kill Animal Shelter. We got her about 8 or 9 years ago, so she's getting a little old, but she's a good girl. So
there it goes.
What, you want to see that puppy? Later. You see the puppy later.
But yeah, it's been an awesome experience. Things
That's great.
like I've are you guys doing anything since you're now in Atlanta? Like, are you? I know you've been talking about me. I want to go ahead and talk about you guys a little bit here.
We literally started the YouTube channel so people up in New York can see what we, when we go out places, because you get like, oh, what are you doing? You move somewhere, but we're the only ones down here. We don't have family down here, so it's, oh, what are you guys doing? And well, you know what? Let's just show you what we're doing. And then it was started off as like, oh yeah. Now it's like more like, okay, well, we're having fun doing this, so let's kind of get serious with this and go places. And
as far as decorating for Halloween, no. Unfortunately, we're having a very terrible year for that because, like, we live at the back of our complex, so it's like our door and then the woods, and like nobody passes by.
I mean, inside the house it's always decorated for Halloween. I mean,
inside it's always out 24/7.
Yeah. I say if you guys ever need any props, I'm literally not using about 30% of my props this year. So, so like for example, I have a Pinhead. I'm not using the alien this year, so I figured put him on the stream a little bit.
I have our Halloween party coming up, our Halloween party live stream for Halloween. I usually try to do something around like the doorway at least for Halloween day. So I either like did a whole brick thing where it looked like platform 9 3/4, and I've done that.
That's cool. That is cool.
But I mean, other than like up in New York, we would not.
We decorated our whole hallway.
Yeah, we did.
There were years before, like we got a new landlord after a while, and he wasn't as cool. But like our first couple years, we did a whole haunted house like in our hallway. Yeah. And the super let us, and they were really cool about it. It stained the walls red, and nobody bothered us.
Like blood dripping down from the walls and stuff. Yeah. Butcher knives hanging everywhere, and yeah.
That is the one room that I haven't done yet, is the a butcher room, and I feel like I don't know if I should do it because I feel like I would maybe go a little bit too.
Yeah, that's a room that's pretty easy to take over the top quickly.
But with the amount of heads I have, yes, I have the most amount. Well, at the very end, when you go out when you finally see the exit and you see something really big on your left hand side, just look down and see how much body parts and things I didn't use because of I usually like to use hanging heads everywhere and body parts everywhere. That's the one thing I buy every year. It doesn't matter. Like I will just I'll use it somewhere.
More heads.
More heads, more arms, more legs. The latex, like it works out pretty well. So one of the things is if you're trying to build a haunted house, it just takes time, right? You're slowly collecting over time. This is basically 10 years of doing haunted house stuff. So technically it's only year 7 to the public, 8 with the Halloween party, and 10 with not being in my house. Right. So, but it's one of those things I have no regrets. Like it can be frustrating at times, but when it all is happening and everybody goes through it, and
well, are you into the Halloween and horror? Like will Pinhead hang out with you there all year round? There we go. There's my question. It's answered.
This
So
is from my aunt. My aunt bought me this, so
okay,
she's got some good taste.
yeah,
So and she's up in Montana, so
yeah,
you know,
exactly. So but it makes there's some people out there that do this just for Halloween time, just to bring the community together, but have no desire in horror movies or
So weird to me.
yeah.
I don't understand.
yeah. So I've always been a horror film junkie, big
Oh,
time horror film,
yeah,
paranormal stuff.
yeah,
Me and my buddy Justin, we both have had weird experiences with like the Hag, if you know about the Hag at all, from like Savannah, Georgia. When
yeah.
you're at a very weak state, she comes to you.
Wow.
So those could be maybe for another podcast down the road, but those
Yeah,
stories were
definitely.
creepy. Like my wife still, when we were at a down in Savannah doing a ghost tour at night, like there's 40 people, and then the guy looks at you and says something exactly right to you and say, "Hey, I feel like someone had this experience," and looked right at you. She's just like,
Yeah,
"That's you," and I'm like, "Yes, I know."
yeah. And that's funny you say that because we're actually starting our whole Haunted Georgia series of videos too.
Savannah is
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
there's
we're
a
trying
ghost
to
tour
start
at night.
the Atlanta area right now, and then we'll branch out from Atlanta.
Like, yeah, I put Savannah on its own whole list.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even it was
Yeah.
like the rest of Georgia and then Savannah.
Yeah, there's a
Savannah
lot.
is so like that's where was it Safe by the Bell was actually like that whole was it a saying comes from, right? Because
Oh,
it was
really?
all during about the death, the was it the plague of death or whatever? Like people were literally like supposedly dead, but then they would get buried alive, and
Oh,
they would
yeah.
have a string, and then they would that was the Safe by the Bell.
They were afraid that they were going to be buried alive.
Yeah.
There was an architect. There was somebody. I forget, was he an architect or a doctor? I think it was a doctor who actually came to Atlanta and visited. Passed away here in Atlanta. Was buried in Oakland Cemetery, and he said, "You're going to cut my jugular vein before you bury me, because I do not want to be buried alive."
Yes.
So
Yes, and I also there's a lot of like you have a lot of Civil War stuff around here as well. Like I think it was up over in Lake Allatoona. I don't know what we were doing in college. We would go like we'd go in the middle of the night during October and just like we went to the abandoned insane asylum that was abandoned in Dunwoody. One year we actually have video recording footage and everything like that, like Blair Witch style.
Yeah.
So this is not just hey, I wanted to be that trick-or-treating house. I've always loved horror movies. Nightmare on Elm Street is my jam. That is my favorite. The whole idea about you are vulnerable in your sleep. You have to go to sleep. So
you're gonna like this one. Hold on a second.
I don't even have a prop though. That's the crazy thing.
Hold on.
From a Nightmare. Ooh, Elm Street. Actually, I do have some Elm Street
This
in
is
the.
the actual sign from Elm Street in Yonkers, New York.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And they had
That
just
is
moved it too, and like a truck knocked it down. So
Yeah.
They had to get rid of it.
We're like, if you want it back, just come get
They're
it.
like, no, it's yours. So
Yeah.
like, we want to talk about free prop, like that. Yeah, we find things all the time.
Yeah, I grew up on Elm Street, so in the 80s, it
Mhm.
was very special.
I was about to say that's my favorite. I actually really appreciate Cabin in the Woods too. I know a lot of people hate that movie. I took my buddy Eli, the one with the strobe light. I took all my friends to that, and then like literally, me and my wife thought it was amazing because literally that is like the premise of how like almost like how scary movies are made. You make a choice, something happens, and based on that, you have that history, right? So technically, you could do Cabin in the Woods like 100 times and just see all the different types of stories behind that. I was kind of disappointed that they kind of ended it the way they did. But it's like I got the worst flack after we were in NCG in Ackworth. We go and check it out, and I'm like, oh, this is so good. My buddy Photo just looked at me like, you're never picking a movie ever again. And I was like, what? It was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, love horror movies. Always been into that, and it's just just kind of had fun with it. And this year is, I can kind of give away a little bit of it. You got clowns as usual. You always have like clowns because it's the Haunted Playhouse. I can't get away with it. There's been times I've been
your front facade is amazing, which we'll show here in a little bit.
So that front facade is actually from Spirit Halloween. We got it as a cardboard, and we bought it for like $50. And then my very smart IQ brain thought, it's cardboard. It's not gonna get rained on outside at all. And yeah, it was ruined like the first year, and I was like, that wasn't very smart. So the next year, Justin comes over. I was like, hey, I got this template. I can cut it out, right? I cut it all out, all perfect. Detail it for me.
Yeah.
That front of the haunted house has been there for the last like 5 years, and it's actually looking a little rough around the edges, but actually looks creepier because of that.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of the old like carnival, like that creepy carnival, roadside carnival like feel to it.
Yep. And we've always tried to do a little backstory at times, but the backstory it's so hard to actually explain it while trying to get people through it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that it technically hasn't. We got to try to rework that. The whole idea was like this clown that was in this circus, and he had a family. Everybody was there, and then a lightning storm came, basically caught the tent on fire. Everybody died except for him. Traumatic experience. He disappeared, and then he basically sold his soul to the devil to see his family one last time. But the thing is, he didn't say for how long, so he literally just saw his family for 1 second.
Oh,
and
no.
yeah, and then basically he's out for blood.
Gotcha.
There's the Haunted Playhouse.
Gotcha.
He has a bone to pick.
You're my writer now. I'm gonna do some consultation with you.
Definitely does come up with some good stuff.
So, but yeah, that front piece was a big thing, and also the clown walls has been a big thing from Justin. He's helped out with that. Every year he just works on one big project, and you can see his every little thing just helps out.
Yeah.
You want to? We can do a sneak peek.
Do you want to? Here we go. We can do this. And there it is. There's that clown face that we were just talking about. And here we go. Do his eyes move at all, or they don't?
They used to.
Okay.
Things break.
Some hands.
You can hear something slowly increase in volume if you listen.
Oh, wow.
And that's all you get.
Yeah.
It leads up. You can hear and I actually like how it's a slow build up this year. Usually we'll go straight into something right away. It's a very slow build up, and you can hear what's ahead of you, and it gets louder and like things like that. You don't even realize that those are, that right there is I personally don't think I've ever actually done something like that in any of the haunted houses, and it's very. I'm excited to see how people like it because
I think that one little hallway is gonna that whole little area right there is going to freak. You're going to have a lot of people stopping and hearing that noise. They're going to be like, what is this? And you're going to get the effect that you want from a lot of people.
Yep. And that bridge, when you're walking over it, that was actually, some of the stuff that we actually got from a gym that went out of business, and they had these little floating floors, like the actual platforms.
Yeah.
And it was my wife's mom. She was working for the gym, and she has a new job now, which is everything's going good with that, which is good. But with the gym itself, she's like, oh, do you want anything? I go in and I'm like, how many of these do you have? Can I have this and this? She's like, why? And I was like, oh, a bridge. Like, literally, I was testing out this idea in the gym like a couple months ago. Like, I was putting everything, like I put foam stuff underneath it, and it just gave that floating floor effect.
Yep.
And this thing will cost probably about $1,000, and this is just something they got for free. And you just found ways. Well, I did spend a little money for like the actual carpet. I put like a green carpet from Home Depot. I would like the real stuff, but that stuff expensive, that turf stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like $20. You just put that on there, and it just kind of gives that little effect. And I've always wanted to do a bridge, and it just finally gave that opportunity. One of these years, I know my wife wants to do a mirror room. I want to do a mirror room. We're the Haunted Playhouse. We have to do a mirror room. It just hasn't come up yet. Even if it's just a bunch of mirrors for like a hallway or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Like just random mirrors. Like there's just all the reflections everywhere.
Yeah, kind of like it's like the Playhouse, right? You go in.
Yeah.
Yep. So, what are your top 3 scary movies? I know that's tough.
That is tough.
You can do 5.
I mean, I love all the Universal monster movies. I mean, that could definitely take the whole top 5 right there. But I mean, I'll throw that into a slot, the first slot, basically, though. For me, if it's anything old and classic like that, is what I'm watching. I don't really per se, like, you see, I normally don't like watch more of the newer stuff that comes out. I'll watch the Night of the Living Dead, the originals and all that, though, and you go from like Tales of the Crypt and things like that. So
yeah, I know mine would be Freddy with Elm Street. That's number 1. It the Clown. That I actually like the both. Like the new ones are actually really creepy, but I appreciate the old ones as well. There's different audiences, right? You had one made for TV, you had one made for the movie theater, so you have to take that into consideration. You're probably limited on your budget, and what he did with what he had.
Yeah.
Pretty.
It fan.
I actually thought they did a really good job with it. I was I saw it like the first night. So they're that. The third one is always the tough one because those are my 2 standouts, and then after that I'm like kind of just torn between Hellraiser, I mean Michael Myers, the classic, like it's just
I mean, I'm also a sucker for like the stupid comedy, like horror, like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, things like that. She doesn't per se like those. Like she looks at me like, why are you watching this? But every once in a while, you just need to break down and watch something like that.
Was it Ash vs. Dead or whatever?
Yeah, Ash vs. The Evil Dead. And,
yep, that one is ridiculous. We're just trying to help.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like the nicest rednecks ever, and they're just like, oh, like it just catches them off such a bad. It's hilarious. I love that stuff, but yeah. So we're gonna be open this weekend, Friday, Saturday, free. And then the weekend after that, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I mean, I'm hoping for the best. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
can't wait to check it out.
We'll be up there. We will
Okay.
definitely be up there. We're with camera in hand and all. We got to cover you. Yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna spread you out. You'll be nationwide, worldwide here. So all of our viewers can definitely see this. You know, obviously we got some in other locations and stuff, so they're gonna see what we're getting into here. So
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I do have a guest here, so
hey, how are you?
so I'm on a I'm on a headset, so
Hi everyone.
Hi.
so she's my better half. I don't know how she tolerates me at all. Like it's
You are very
Not
lucky.
that hard.
so, but yeah, it's been an experience. So I just are you guys like? Do you guys like? How far did you guys do with like your haunted house? I was just curious about the New York and everything like that. How that all went. Like how like when you were actually doing it, were you getting like hundreds of people? Like how?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was.
We usually probably did what, a little over 1,000 a night
Yeah.
Damn.
on
Yeah.
a normal season.
Yeah, it was one of those like. It
We
was
were
like
lucky,
basically
though.
like what
Like,
containment haunted houses down here is kind of like what we were up there.
Yeah, their haunt very much reminds us of ours, except better. Like, I love containment.
Yeah.
We all have biases. I mean, so, but yeah, that's really cool. How long did you guys actually manage it for? Was it just for a couple years,
I
or
was there in total for 19 years.
wow?
What, maybe 10?
Danny, you joined in 2007, so you were there for like 10 years
10
before
years.
we left.
I was actually the head makeup artist, special effect makeup artist there.
Like, I was just an actor when
Yeah.
I started, but
I was
eventually
too, but
I became
yeah. I
I
was actor, in charge of the actors in the haunted house. So I had to know every position in there while she was maintaining the demographics of the outside of the haunt, making sure things were going smoothly out there. And yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, we literally planned our entire lives around, like,
Yeah.
we got married October 2nd because we had to get married before the haunt started.
Yeah.
And then
Funny.
had our honeymoon like at the end of the month because we had to wait till haunt season was over.
Yeah. It was one of those, like, really couldn't, like, they needed us there. Like,
Yeah. We were so close to doing May 4th for our
that's
for
great.
but the church.
Wasn't available.
Yeah, it was booked for a baptism. I was like, you can baptize another time. This is serious. So it was a couple weeks afterwards, unfortunately. But those were like some of the plans that we had. Have you ever gone down to Universal Studios and done Halloween Horror Nights ever?
We have.
We did that for our honeymoon, actually. That was our. We did Mickey's Not So Scary and Halloween Horror Nights.
Actually,
for our
everybody
honeymoon.
can go back on our channel here and actually see. We put up a picture video of our trip to Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, it was
So,
pretty cool.
Yeah.
We had the whole VIP tour. It was an RIP tour, thing that they have,
Gotcha.
We went all out. It was the honeymoon, so why not, right? So Halloween night too that we were there.
Yeah, I've only been once, and we did the speed pass and went through all the different like the haunted houses, and that was one of the things that I want to go back sometime, just because it was just like they did a really good job, like just the amount of detailing and just it wasn't super scary. Actually, there was one. I think it was
Jess and I didn't like the haunted houses per se, just because we were pushed through so fast. Like, that's not our style.
They hate us.
Scare zone, like walking around the park was amazing. Like, just details around the park and just lingering in, like, the chainsaws, and like, this is the year that we were down there for their 20th anniversary. This is in 2010. So they're iconic. The fear that they released, the whole fear dude that they had, he was crazy, like on those giant stilts, remember? And It was just it was nuts.
Yeah, I had actors actually pushing us because we were like,
Yeah.
you know, they're going. I'm like, do, 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 do,
Yeah.
do, do, do.
Yeah.
I was doing that on purpose because I knew the jump scares were gonna, they would reset.
Yeah, you see
And it would,
everything coming so far ahead in haunts like that.
especially with like animatronics and everything like that. So that's the one thing with you know, with our haunt, we space it. Well, it's, you know, you can go through our haunt in like a minute, like if you really just wanted to kind of walk through it. You could saw, you know, it took a minute just to go down that hallway, but I was kind of going really slow with the camera. But it's one of those things that there's just, the lighting is another thing that I was, oh, it's only going to take me a weekend to do the lighting. I was,
It says every year.
yeah. I come in, I'm like, what the, this is not working. This is not working.
Yeah.
It, like, lighting makes the scene. Like, you
It
have
does.
to,
It does.
like, and there's some lights that are really good, like fire and ice, but then some are so bright, it just ruins. Like,
Yeah.
it just depends on what the room is.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out how that lighting is, that just takes time. And it's one of those things that I was getting corrected by Eli when I was on. I put the bridge lights up. He's like, "Why would you put the lights there?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I just built an entire haunted house. What do you expect?"
We have rooms that we'll rebuild the lighting, we'll change it, we'll tweak it, we'll fix it 5-6 times.
Yep.
And then after we have that first open night, we'll go, I still think I want to change something. You know, it's very much a living thing. It's
Yeah.
never 100% done because
Mhm.
ideas strike at all times, at
Absolutely.
any given time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And tweaked a little bit.
He has that look in his eye right now, like he just thought of something, you know.
No, I was actually, well, we were actually just added a couple things today. We're like, oh, let's do this, and then all of a sudden I was like, yeah, like lights pop up, and I was like, oh, I, you know, did this, and all of a sudden I sent a picture over to Justin and Eli. You messed up the hand. I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, I see it now. I was like, no, they're both the same hand. Like, yeah, like it. I was trying to figure. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, we were just adding stuff here and there. And one of my buddies, I actually lent a big old spider costume. One of the year's Nightmare Collections had these really like nice, fantastic. If you actually Google it, like these actual the collection is just ridiculous. On some of the actual things that you'll see. Yeah, you got like you got werewolves, and you got like the Frankenstein, the spider, the aliens, and they were going for like $40 a piece. Like 50, like these are like $400 or $500 mass, right? And I let someone borrow my spider one, and it is my director. He has a haunted house in Texas. I was like, okay, well, you know, I never do a spider room. I'm never gonna do a spider room. I'll just let him borrow it until I might need it one year. And this was the year I wanted to use it, and I didn't know if I was gonna get it or not, and then all of a sudden it showed up today.
Oh.
So that was added today. So we added that. We added some other things. So, you know, we got these costumes. We're actually using these costumes as like almost props, static props, which is actually some things to kind of think about. You can actually repurpose things if you find some good deals here and there. With just, you know, different masks and whatnot. So it's you know, it's something that it's the biggest thing is just keep an eye open. It's got there's a lot of cool things. And if you go to our YouTube channel, the Haunted Playhouse, we have all the different videos. You can go back and look at the 2013 one.
Guys, definitely check it out. They're great. Like, they're a lot of fun to walk through, and you see the progress of each year and how things have changed and improved. Like, I'd say every year there was definitely an improvement in these videos. I enjoyed watching them.
Yep. And then last year I was like, okay, you know, but this year is just we actually expanded out the haunted house about 4 feet this year. 4 years ago, we got all the way to the street, but I wasn't focusing on detail. I was going for scale, right? It's just the wow factor. But that actually made it really good because now I have so much extra wood, extra material. So now I've downsized it, and once I downsized it, now it's all detailed, and it's actually it's going really, really well. I did have someone say, well, "When we gonna go back in your basement?" I'm like,
Never.
no. I'm about to say it's kind of nice now.
Really, this is you like you want to go in the basement. You'll not leave in the basement.
Yeah, I mean, it was creepy though down in that basement. It was concrete. We had an old Dutch oven stove
Oh
from
wow.
like the 50s, and I was yeah, Roper stove, and I was like, this thing is like, did someone stay down here? Like, were they slaving? I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we even used our water heater when we first moved in. It was an old water heater, it was all beat up to hell, but it had like a trail of rust down it that almost looked a little like blood. We're like, cool, we'll make a creepy room here. Got it. Like like you have to really. I mean, it truly has gotten to the point. I was watching the stream while I was trying to get our son in bed, so that's where I'm like, I'm holding him and I'm like typing on my phone, so multitasking. But it gets to the point where you'll be walking through any store and be like, oh, that
Yeah.
thing, I don't
Yeah.
know where I saw something. I was out with my sister and we were shopping. We were looking for stuff. She just moved into an apartment. I was helping her look for some stuff, and I was like, "Ooh, that'd be perfect for the haunted house." She was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, let's buy it." You start to see things so differently. Like you start to see potential in like literally everything.
Yeah,
For sure.
you really do. You really do. The weirdest things, you're like,
Get haunt eye. You're like
the best place, Goodwill.
Yep, Goodwill. You can get yourself a nice rocking chair, and then leave that rocking chair outside in the weather for like 6 weeks, and it looks even worse.
Yeah.
I left this little kid, this little kid. Like it's you'll see it in the kids' room. It's a nightstand.
Yeah.
And it's pink, right? I bought it from. No, it's still pink, but the thing is, it's so dude, pick it up. It's like 50 pounds. Like, I mean, it's like this. Like, it's not big, but it's so waterlogged, and it's like you can see it's like bending and like morphing, but it looks so like it looks creepier every year.
That's great.
Facebook Marketplace pick up a crib last year for like $20, and we used it last year, and we're using it. That's one of the big features this year. It's
okay.
It was funny though, because when you picked it up, the guy was like, "Now, just so you know, this is it might not go back together so right, so you might have to shore it up. You might have to make it a little bit more secure." And we're like, "No, don't worry about it. We're good." Okay. And he's like, "What? Huh?" We were like, ever. But then we explained what we're using it for. He's like, "Oh, that's badass." I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's actually like one of the big feature pieces is in the kids' room this year. The kids' room is just, you just need to go in, and when you go in, you're just gonna be looking everywhere, and there's just a lot of stuff going on, and it's just there's just a lot of stuff that I still want to I still have. If I had a bigger space, I could do more, but right now I'm kind of restricted. I'm restricted this way. Like I can go farther out.
Right.
My driveway is, but that's one of the benefits with Jason's tent. He does a tent in front of his house, and it's like a 20-foot by 40-foot. So he has an extra 4 feet to play with.
Okay.
And he can basically do 2 hallways. I only can do 1 hallway, and then you basically kind of wrap it around and do it that way. We're kind of limited. Actually, ironically enough, if you looked at the video from last year,
yep,
and then look at the video when you go through it this year, I changed 4 walls this year.
Did you?
That's it.
Yeah.
I basically, I just reversed it. Instead of you going in and then you go this way and go out that way,
yeah.
you went the other way and went through it that way. Like, it was just a simple little subtle thing, and I was like, because I was trying to get this whole bridge idea trying to make it work without having some craziness, but it seemed to, I think it flows really well. So I'm really excited for everybody that stopped by and check it out. So
Awesome. Yeah, guys, if you're here in Georgia, definitely stop by. Stop by, and I believe all the information is in the description below here. Yeah, it actually is. Your hours are ahead in 7 to 9.
Yep.
Do you guys shut it down at 9, or is it, if you had a line, do you keep it running, or?
we actually never have a line usually at 9. Usually people start, but if there's people coming, I get text messages and they're like, "Hey, we're running late, 9:15." Yep, we'll keep it open. I have some of my buddies. They're like, "We can't make the nights," and I was like, "Well, just if you're in the area, give me a text and I'll turn it on." Like,
Yeah.
it literally, I think I got it down pretty good this year. I got 5 switches I got to turn on.
Yeah, not bad.
Okay.
That's pretty awesome.
And also in the past, we've had, he was talking about earlier, your mileage may vary with younger kids.
Right.
We had some people contact them like, hey, we have little kiddos that really are just like dying to go through, but they're kind of scared of like being so dark. Could we possibly come see it earlier? And we're like, yeah, bring them over. So we had them run through it, daylight, none of the effects on, so that the kids just go through it and see. In past years when we've had actors in there, we actually came up with we devised a system for the kiddos that, we have one actor that is like super enthusiastic and very creepy and very good at what he does. And it can be a little much for some of the little ones. So we came up with a system where we gave them monster repellent, which was just glow stick necklaces, because from the mask he had on, that was about all he could see to see anything. So they would
that's a smart idea.
And that would signal to him like, whoa, take it easy, don't go full throttle.
Right.
Yeah.
So we work with the hours, we work with people because we just want to get everyone the experience if we can.
And we don't want to scar someone, right? We don't want to scar someone. But we actually got that idea came from Jason. When I went through his haunted house, there's these glow sticks. I was like, what's that for? And that's one of the things, is just piggybacking off each other. So if you happen to find someone else in your neighbor, don't be afraid to just reach out to them. And the other day I went to Dollar Tree and bought a bunch of pool noodles. I'm like, hey, I bought 40 of them. Here's 15. He's like, okay, what do you want for them? Nothing. You don't. They're black.
Whatever, they're yours. I know you're gonna want them.
Well, pool noodles could be used in so many different, so many like trees. You can do them with. You can actually be able to use them for, like, if you have animatronics that actually are just metal, you can actually use that for to actually pad them up to give it more lifelike.
Yeah.
And Jason was like, oh, I'll pay you back. I'm like, dude, it's $15 here, whatever. I was like, you've helped me out already with so much. He borrowed some of my props. I borrowed some of his props. He was using one of my werewolves last year. I was using some of his stuff, some of his spiders from last year that he gave me. So, we just kind of piggyback off each other, which, that helps a lot. But one of the things with his haunt, he does a lot of his own work, and that.
Yeah.
I buy my stuff. I have no shame, I can't make that pinhead look that good. And if I can pick him up for $50 at a Halloween City,
we'll work.
Why not? Why not? Yeah, exactly. So now, do you get special permission from the city to do this, or they don't?
It's a temporary structure.
Okay.
So it's a temporary structure. If it's if it stays, if it's a permanent structure, that's a different story, right? It's I've never had any issues. Nobody come up to me, hey, you're not supposed to build that. It's like, technically it's gonna be gone and before Thanksgiving. So
exactly.
The funny thing is, we have a nice, you have the haunted house, all scary, and then we have the cutest critters for Christmas. It's the tinsel animals from Target.
Cartoony.
See, that was gonna be my answer. It's like, so Halloween disappears, does Christmas come in?
Yep, it does. We got a nice little, it's basically a tinsel family, little family of critters and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
Yep. So, but yep.
spirit of things going, all through the rest of the year. That's great.
Yeah. Do you know? So how many of your friends do you know that actually bought the 12-foot skeleton from Home Depot?
Oh my gosh.
Not many. I know a haunted house that did. I bought 2 of them.
Yeah, they're actually sold out. I think almost everywhere. Like
Even
they
online.
yeah, like the Home Depot by like Merchants Walk over in Roswell, Marietta. Like
Mhm.
I was like, oh, I'll try to pick it up after, when they do. Yeah, no,
Nope.
didn't even have a. Like, I was able to pick up those horses for the
Oh, yeah.
skeleton horses, 75% off. They luckily had them one year, and I grabbed 2 of them. Those have been a big hit every year. I think the biggest thing this year we focused more on the inside of the haunted house than the outside.
Okay.
The other year we kind of flip-flopped, and the other years we actually didn't really focus on the outside. So that's something that that's probably the next big thing, is maybe getting a bigger cemetery, a little bit more. I will probably not do fog outside ever again because that damn wind, like
No.
It just blows
it,
to the neighborhood. Yeah.
yeah, like I mean, it just depends on the wind. So I'm just gonna use the fog in the haunted house. So
Yeah.
that's the next thing but we do have my buddy coming over on tomorrow to actually do a dry run with his fiance. So they're gonna go through it tomorrow night, and it's gonna be going the way it's supposed to be going with everything turned on. So we'll see how
Can't
everything.
wait. I mean, we can't wait. So.
Yeah, I think the one room we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 animatronics.
Wow. That's
There we go.
impressive.
That's great.
Yeah, one doesn't work, but
It's all right. It's a static prop.
it's a static prop now. So I'm
Yeah.
like, that's the thing, is the nice thing with animatronics, if they go bad, you can be able to
Yeah.
yeah, they can just go like that. I'm like, okay, that works.
Yeah.
But what night do you think you're gonna be able to stop by? Is it gonna be opening night or Saturday, probably?
I would like to try for opening. What night would you like us there?
I'll say I don't know. I have no idea even who's gonna even show up. So I mean,
So I'm thinking opening night. We'll stop by.
cool. So I'll be looking forward. And
Yeah, we're psyched.
Yeah, we are. I love home, so definitely psyched.
I'm about to say, actually, the funny thing is, my wife's sister still thinks our house is haunted because she stayed at our house one night, and it wasn't even during Halloween. Like doors opening up, and I'm like, it's an old house. Things happen.
Yeah.
She's like, I will never sleep there ever again. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a draft. It's not a line,
Exactly.
I mean, don't forget, Eli promised there'd be candy. Just saying.
Yeah, that's a good reason for anybody to come on out. I mean, you got
Yeah.
candy, you can make a donation to a good cause and,
Yep.
and get a good, walk through in a haunted house. I mean, come on, guys. Can't beat this. Can't beat
Exactly. And also, if you go to our Google site, our Google site actually has donation. It goes to our Venmo and everything, so you can
Okay.
actually donate if you don't want to do cash or anything like that. So those are just some other options, because I know a lot of people are trying to avoid as much as possible, right, for contact. So yeah, you don't know.
that. And if you guys want,
Probably got cocaine on it, right?
and if you guys want, also you can send it through us at the Two Real Geeks, and we'll definitely shoot it on over to them too, and and help them out for a good cause here. I mean,
Yep.
You can't beat this. Can't beat this. Is there anything else you want to add into this tonight?
Dude, we've been talking for 2 hours.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's funny. And there's still tons of other stuff to talk about, but I think I greatly appreciate you guys reaching out to us.
Thank you so much.
I mean, I hope you guys enjoy when you come stop by. Share with everybody.
Oh, we will. We will.
Sure.
And one of these years I might be able to know how to actually tell people about my haunted house. Maybe, I don't know, but
Baby steps.
yeah, baby steps. I expect others to hopefully just they just that's usually how it actually how it's actually come to fruition.
We'll throw
Yeah.
some flyers around here and there.
Yep.
Tell our friends. To tell their friends.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So exciting. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You guys
We
were
definitely appreciate you guys joining us.
awesome.
Yep.
Very
No
informative.
problem.
Super.
All right, you guys take it easy, okay?
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks. We
right.
appreciate you being here with us.
All right, bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Guys, there we go. The Haunted Playhouse. Amazing work that they're doing out there. So get on there.
Check them out.
And check them out. So we will be out there Friday night, more than likely doing a video, and
Bringing you
we're excited about that. Yeah, all
more
that fun stuff.
Haunted
But
Playhouse fun.
I think we are good. You know, anything else you want to add here tonight?
Tomorrow's Danny's birthday.
What?
So everybody
What?
say, happy birthday, Danny. I gotta go make a cake.
Yeah, thanks. But guys, we are ending here. We
Gotta go
are
make a cake.
out of here. Have a good, oh, and by the way, look what's back. The bats. Have a good night.